Welcome. This is for the Baseball Ontario Select Division Provincial Championship Tournament rules. We're going to go over some frequently asked questions. This is designed to answer questions for hosts, umpires, and coaches. I'll note that we have a very specific set of rules for the Provincial Championship that's different from what you may have played during the regular season. You need to know these rules. Please read the rules. They're on the on-deck application. It does not matter what you've been playing all season. These are the rules that we're playing for the weekend. Now, to go through some of these rules, I have Patrick McConnell. He's been involved with Select for the past couple decades. He's an umpire clinician. That means he trains umpires. And he's currently head of the Select Rules Committee. So, Patrick, please take it away.
Thanks very much, Scott. That's a pretty big introduction you gave me. I'll do my best to fill those shoes of expectation. So let's go to that next slide. So the disclaimer here, as Scott mentioned, what we're going through is a very high level. We're trying to give some information, answer some FAQs on the rules. But at the end of the day, you are responsible to understand the rules. You have to read the rules, understand the rules, share the rules with your coaches, share the rules with your parents, because they're one of the biggest problems that we have during provincials is that's coaches and parents saying that's not the way we play, or people yelling from the stands, that's not how we do it. At provincial select championships, this is how we do it. We follow these rules, not what you've been doing all year. So it's very important that you read the documents as published on deck. Next slide, Scott. So as a convener, your role is pretty much sitting back, watching, watch the game, know what's going on. You're not going to be inserting yourself in any of the game. You're very administrative in nature, and you're not going to be suggesting rules be enforced unless anybody asks you questions. You're very much an observer sitting in the background, and you wait until a question is raised and brought to your attention. You're going to get a lot of questions asked by parents, coaches. If you don't know the answer 100%, if you have any question in your mind, any doubt, do not answer until you've had a chance to refer to the rules or refer to the on-site convener for Select Council. You don't want to give misinformation that then ends up going back through a parent to a coach, and then they say the convener said. You want to make sure any information you're providing is accurate. So don't feel the pressure to answer right away until you've got 100% sure what the rule says. Scott?
Absolutely correct. You know, I've learned that one the hard way. You've got some correcting to do if you give them the wrong answer. What can you tell teams about what they need to do with rosters?
So it's pretty straightforward. We all know there was a June 30th cutoff for rosters. All players have to be on that roster. It's a little bit different than what you've been doing maybe for tournaments, or if you play in a loop or local. You've had the opportunity to call up. Right now, as we're going into the provincials, if the player is not on your roster as of June 30th, they are not eligible to play. Likewise, coaches must be certified. And if they're not certified prior to the weekend, they're not allowed to play. And there was a lot of communication that came out from Baseball Ontario about certified coaches who've been taken off rosters, and make sure you respect that unless you've got your certifications up to date. Next slide, Scott.
Okay.
Scorekeeping and pitch. Oh, sorry, Scott, I jumped in there. Scorekeeping and pitch counting. Under the rules, the home team is responsible for both of these. Both teams should be making sure that they're keeping track of their pitchers, and you should be sharing that information backwards and back and forth between innings. The requirement is you have to be using the pitch count app either pitch by pitch or at the end of the inning. And remember, The official pitch counter is the one whose number, when it goes to anything of questions, the official pitch counter is the official pitch counter, regardless of what the other team may have. So make sure, if you're not official, that you know what the official has, and that will eliminate any problems going down the road. All games in the pitch count app have to be closed off within 20 minutes, and teams failing to do so will have consequences. But please, just make sure that you close off your games at the end. It's very important.
Okay. Who goes on the lineup? What if they show up late?
All right. Everyone goes on the lineup card. If you're at the field, you go on the lineup card. We're going to have a slide about this coming up in a second, but I'll strictly believe to address the late arrivals. 11U and older, you can be added to the lineup card up to the end of the second inning. 9U, you can be added, 9U can be added to the lineup card at the end of the second inning or prior to going through your lineup once. Pretty straightforward. So as I mentioned a few seconds ago, all players have to be on the lineup card. If you're at the field, you're wearing a uniform, there's no restriction as to who can and cannot be. If you're there, you're on the lineup card. And all players bat on the lineup card.
Well, I'll make one clarification. All able-bodied. So if somebody is injured and unable to play a defensive position, there's no rule that says they can't sit on the bench if they're a rostered player. But you need to talk with the convener, the umpire, and the opposition before you leave somebody off the roster.
And that rule falls under SP3M. It's a very specific rule. I want you to make sure that you're aware of it. And it also addresses this next point, where all players on the lineup card must play a defensive position 2 of the first 4 innings. And there's a couple exceptions on there, but just as long as you go by that, 2 of the first 4 innings, all players have to play a defensive position. Next slide, Scott. There you go.
How long is the game?
The game is 7 innings, except there are no new inning curfews. For 9U up to 13U, it's an hour and 45 minutes. No new inning for 15U and older is 2 hours. And there are different mercy rules.
Do you want to see the mercy rules, or do they look them up?
No, you can look up your own mercy rules, because they are different for all the different divisions. Just know the division that you're playing in and know what your mercy rule is. It's different for 9, it's different for 11, and it's different for 13 and above. So whatever division you're playing in, be familiar with your mercy rule. Since no ties are permitted, after the first of either the no new inning or the 7 innings are completed, we do an international tiebreaker rule. Again, this is spelled out in section 10 of the rules, but high level, the last batter from the previous inning goes to first base, the second last batter goes to second base, and there's none out, and you play a full inning.
All right.
Scott, I'm going to ask you to take care of the pitch count stuff here.
Okay. Well, for the pitch count, this is the table that you're most familiar with, that you see on a regular basis. And this is what it looks like on my clipboard. I've highlighted the maximum for the no rest required and for the daily max. And the reason for that is, as far as I see, there's 2 important rules for deciding how many pitches they can throw. And I call it the lower limit, the no rest limit, and the daily max, which is the upper limit. So I'm going to use 11U as the example. Pitcher on Friday night can pitch up to 25 pitches. And then they can pitch again on, excuse me, they can pitch a second game that day, or they can pitch a second game the next day. And the same limit applies for their total pitches of those 2 games. Doesn't matter whether it's the same day or 2 different days. The total is 25. So, 75. You've already pitched 25. You've got 50 remaining. As soon as you throw pitch number 26, you are no longer eligible for that second game in the second day. You go into the table for whatever your rest requirement is. And 25 is a hard stop number. 75, the daily max, that is a soft number. What I mean by that is when you throw pitch number 75, you're permitted to finish that batter. So you're done. When that batter's done, the next out is recorded or the inning ends. There's also a 3-day pitch rule, but your total has to be of those 3 days, no more than that no rest limit number. And same thing, it's a hard number. You throw number 26 as an 11U pitcher on the 3rd day, you are now in a position to forfeit a game because of a pitch count violation. So now, pitch count violations. We made this table because this is different than the table in the on deck frequently asked questions. It's rep rules there. This is what we play by. Patrick, did you want to go through this?
No, go ahead, Scott. Okay. Well, actually, you know what I'm going to say is guys, at the end of the day, follow your pitch count. Whatever penalty comes, we'll enforce the penalty, and that's the bottom line. You never want to get into the situation where we're going to be enforcing a penalty. You have to face what you're going to face. It is what it is. If you break the pitch count rule, you're going to be penalized. There's no point in us going through all these details, Scott, because just follow your pitch count, guys. That's it. That's all we ask. But there it is for your reference.
All right, so let's go to some different age group specific rules that people ask a lot of questions about. So let's start with the 11U maximum runs per inning.
All right, 11U, 3 outs or 4 runs per inning, plus dead ball awards. Dead ball awards is often a very confusing thing for people, but dead ball awards is an umpire expression where umpires move runners forward based on the ball leaving a field of play for whatever reason. So you can technically score more than 4 runs per inning based on your dead ball awards. And there's an example there, and there's 3 examples in the rules. If you're curious about them, you can go and read them. But dead ball awards are a very specific thing. In the 7th inning, or any final inning, beginning within 15 minutes to curfew, there's an 8-run max. However, if the inning starts at 16 minutes before curfew, but then the game continues past the curfew inning or the curfew time, there is no 8-run max. And that might sound a little confusing, but it's really all about the clock. And the clock is the most important part that governs when that 8-run inning is declared, or if it is even declared. And the clock is the umpire's clock. It's not what Grandpa has in his lawn chair out in right field. It's what the umpire's timepiece says, and that is the official timepiece of the game. Again, what we have here is dead ball awards can also happen in the 8-run max inning.
Perfect.
Scott?
Okay, same question for the 9U. What's the maximum runs per inning?
7 per inning. Again, dead ball awards. And I will note that there is no open inning in 9U. It's only 7 is the max plus dead ball awards.
Okay, now we're going to get into some real fun. Calling time.
9U. Oh my goodness. This is one of the most misunderstood and probably wrongly enforced rules in 9U. Basically, when a kid runs into the infield with possession of the ball and he's an infielder and they are screaming time, 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 and runners keep moving, time has not been called by that player. Players do not call time. Players request time. There's a very important difference. Players are requesting time. Only umpires can grant or call time after several of the specific conditions are met as outlined in the rules. Time is not a way to stop the offensive team from advancing. You do not use time to stop the runners. Runners can keep moving.
Now, I like to tell coaches, time is not a defensive play. Just get the ball in front of the runner. They'll stop on their own.
Exactly. So this is probably one of you probably play it a little bit differently sometimes in your own divisions if you're a 9U coach or a 9U umpire. Please note, umpires grant time, call time. Players request time. Just because a player screamed at the top of their lungs for time does not mean time has been called. Time will be granted at the umpire's discretion.
Yeah. One thing I'll note, because there's a lot of baseball terms that umpires understand that a lot of people don't, hidden in the rules. Understood boundaries of the infield are the 4 bases plus the catcher's area. So must be an infielder with possession in the infield. So even if they're on the dirt, that doesn't necessarily mean they're on the infield. So beaten to death and then some. Let's
There
go
we
on
go.
to what's an at-bat for 9U and hittable pitch versus strike.
So at 9U, you get 5 hittable pitches. And the definition of a hittable pitch is it's a bigger zone than what we would traditionally call a strike zone. We were not calling strikes, you're calling 5 hittable pitches. And you get 5 hittable pitches. And if they foul off the 5th hittable pitch, it's treated the same way as the last strike for foul balls in any in normal 11U and above baseball. It's if foul off, you get another pitch. We would ask umpires to make sure that they notify the teams that when they've had 4 good pitches, because that always helps the players and the coaches and be clear you've had 4. And you actually can strike out, as we all know, but you strike out on the 5th pitch if you don't put it in play or hit or foul it off.
Okay, just one little clarification on foul on the 5th pitch. If the foul's caught, you're out. If the foul hits the ground first, they get that other pitch.
And a foul tip, if a catcher catches a foul tip, you're out, as Scott mentioned. A foul tip or a foul ball in the air.
Okay, the safety circle.
Safety circle. Safety circle, I like to consider it as a glass tube that goes straight up from the chalk line. Anytime that glass tube is broken by a defensive player, and not just the ball, has to be the player, the ball is dead. So if the player steps on the line, they've broken the glass. If they reach in with their glove, they've broken the glass. Ball is dead. And we give batter runner 1 base, and everybody advances because that's the violation. If it happens after after a subsequent ball or a subsequent play, same thing. Everybody moves 1 base if that safety circle is violated. Where pitchers stand in relation to that safety circle, there's a little diagram there on the side. There's a 4-foot line that comes off the 8-foot circle, which is a 4-foot radius circle. And the players have to stand within that 4-foot by 4-foot box shaded area. That's where they have to start. They can start anywhere within that shaded area, but and then they can move around after that, but they must start in that shaded area.
Okay, a couple little clarifications. If the ball hits anything inside the circle other than the ground, dead ball as well. And the pitcher, they must stay in the area Patrick was talking about until the ball's released from the machine.
So yeah, and inside to add something to that, Scott, inside that circle, the coach, the machine, the electrical cord, anything inside that circle, if the ball hits it, it's a dead ball, and base runners are moved accordingly.
Okay.
Next slide.
So talking about protests.
So on a protest, coaches, you have to know what your rules are, as we said before. You can only protest a misappropriation of a rule or a misapplication of a rule. You cannot protest a umpire's opinion. So you can't protest a safe or an out. The first way that you do a protest is you ask for time. You go see the umpire. You say, "Hey, what did you see? What's your interpretation of the rule?" If you think that umpire got it wrong, you can ask the umpire to go and ask their partner. They can get together and have a conversation. But remember, the clock doesn't stop ticking. Only one coach from the bench will go and request this consultation. After that consultation with the umpires are standing by their interpretation of the rule. Then you can ask for the convener to be called, because now you want to protest the rule. Obviously, you have to give the $75. You have to have it available. If you don't have the money, you don't protest. And remember, you're only protesting the application of rules only. Okay, you cannot protest a call, an opinion of an umpire's opinion on a call. The opportunity for, in most cases, the opportunity to file a protest closes when the next baseball play starts. So you have to do it at the time of the rule, perceived rule infraction. You can't wait and then go back and then reset the bell, or as I say, unring the bell. Once a pitch has been thrown, a play has been made, you can't go back in 99% of the rules. So there is a rule that outlines what Select does for organizing their protest committee. Everything is outlined in our rules on the protest section. If you want to go into the details, you can read all that, but it's all there.
It's different than the rep.
Slightly different than the rep rule, but it's most of us play select only. So if you're a rep coach, be aware that a rep coach and a select coach, be aware it's slightly different. Again, at the end of the day, Scott, what did we say at the beginning of this? Read the rules. Read the rules. Be familiar with the select rules.
Okay.
High level on the on ejections, bench warnings. We really hope we don't have to get here, but this is more for our umpires. We do not want to have to be ejecting people. That's to the extreme. We want our umpires to use all the tools in their toolbox, which include bench suspensions and warnings, in order to make sure the game can move forward. Coaches, please know you're responsible for your team and for your spectators. And if there's a problem with players and spectators, and this is particularly for spectators, you can be ejected because of what some of your spectators are saying. And the umpire will tell you, hey, get your spectators in line, otherwise I'm going to start tossing coaches. So you're responsible for both.
Okay, so an ejection comes with an automatic next game suspension. The coach needs to talk to the on-site select council convener to find out whether there was any additional games added on to that. And know that when you're ejected, you need to go to the parking lot, right? You cannot interact in any way with players, coaches, umpires. The parking lot is a simple line in the sand. It's usually because of an emotional outburst. So it's best that you're fully removed from the location for the duration of that game. Suspension means a total abstention of baseball activities. I'll liken it to a driver's license suspension. There's not an exception to go get milk. So there's no exception to do lineup cards, go do batting practice before your next game, anything like that. You are suspended. The suspension ends when the last out is recorded of the game that you are suspended, or games. So you get yourself suspended before the last game, you can go out and celebrate with your team because the game ends and your suspension's over. You get tossed during the game, sorry, you're going to enjoy the celebration from the parking lot. All I can say is, I'm sorry, but it's a hard rule and we need to stick to it to keep tempers from flaring up. Patrick, anything else on that?
Nope, that's great, Scott.
Did I overdo?
So just to follow up, remember, this is community baseball, folks. Treat everyone with respect. Coaches, spectators, players, coaches, set good examples. Players look at you as role models. They'll take their cue from you. If you start doing a lot of yelling, they'll think it's okay to start yelling. Please be a good example for your kids. And parents, just cheer everyone on and have a good time. Enjoy the fact that you're out at a ball time and watching your kids play. Again, community baseball. We're not the MLB, folks. Community baseball. Let's have some fun and show some respect.
Patrick, thank you very much. That's wonderful. Everybody, go out for the weekend and have some fun. That's all from here. Thanks.